weapons being delivered would require Israel to tap into resources it doesn't have. Remember, Israel has to keep some in reserve for an emergency retaliation in case Iran retaliates, striking Israeli leadership. Israel has to have something in reserve able to strike Iranian leadership. So you've got to retain reserve, and then you want to again double that reserve because you want to have spares for aircraft that go down, make up combat losses, continue to do air power projection over Hezbollah, over Hamas. The bottom line is the idea that Israel is going to mobilize the totality of its air force to carry out this strike is absurd. They went in with about 100 aircraft. So it's a limited scope and scale strike. Probably, again, if it's not against leadership, and it appears that it wasn't, then it's against ballistic missile production capability. So even if every weapon hit its target, you're not going to take out Iranian ballistic missile capability. You're going to have a hell of a lot more than 56 discrete aim points to accomplish this task. And it's going to be less aim points than that, because remember, about 40 of these rockets were used to clear out air defense. To the degree to which they were successful, we don't know. The Iranians claim to have shot down a lot of these missiles. It appears that some got through to Parchin. We're looking at less than a half a dozen impact points, though, and we don't know what the what the results of those impact points are. I have to tell people, be careful about looking at photographs when you aren't able to look at them in 3D or have any other reference point, because simply seeing a black mark on the soil means nothing. When things hit the ground and go boom and there's a burn, you get a scorch mark, but that's reinforced concrete. It doesn't look cratered. And we don't know, anything about the warhead that was used or what kind of warhead that it was. So it's unknown whether there was any damage done at all. Plus, the Iraqis, I'll tell you this, when they knew they were going to be struck by the United States, they had a similar facility called Balad al-Shuhada, solid rocket motor production plant. And in there, they had mixers, very high quality mixers that are used to mix the propellant. They removed the mixers to other locations. So even if you bombed, which we did during the Gulf War, we hit these things. And I'm here to tell you, we hit them hard. We hit them direct shots, F-16s with 2,000-pound bombs. We didn't destroy anything. We put a crater in the ground. All their facilities were up and running. After the war, they repaired them instantaneously. And because they had evacuated all the production equipment, it all was brought back in. And it was all functioning. We bombed the hell out of that place during the Gulf War, and we didn't end up damaging anything. So anybody who thinks that the Israelis took out Iranian ballistic missile production capability simply based upon some blurry photographs and some open source intelligence channel on Telegram or Twitter, you're smoking dope. I'm telling you, I've been in this business. I was in this business for a long time, and it doesn't work that way. The reality is it's far more difficult to destroy something than people would like you to believe. I think at the end of the day, the Israeli attack was largely a failure. It failed to accomplish any of its objectives. It failed to do damage to the Iranian ballistic missile production. It failed to disrupt Iranian anti-missile defense, and it failed to deter Iran from future attacks.
What was so amazing, Scott, that I know how things work in Iran. And if any big explosion had happened during this attack, we could have seen these footages coming out of Iran. And Parchin, if something big happens in Parchin, in Tehran, people can see the explosion, everything is coming up. We haven't seen any footages coming out of Iran. That's a huge. That's my.
And they've had accidents at Parchin where there have been big explosions, and I've seen the videos taken by Iranian citizens in Tehran saying, "Oh, look, something big has blown up at Parchin." So yeah, they didn't hit anything. And I have to tell you, if you hit a mixer or you hit any fuel that's being prepared, it's a big explosion. It goes boom.
And the other thing right now, in your opinion, with this attack is really an attack on Iran, we can say that we are not anymore distracted from the conflict between Iran and Israel. Can we focus on what's going on in Gaza and what is happening right now in Gaza? And with the situation with the UN, UNRWA is talking about that Israel, the way Israel is treating UNRWA, and nobody seems to care what's going on in Gaza. Nobody's talking about the level of destruction that is happening right now in Gaza.
Well, let's talk about a couple things. Let's talk about things that we aren't talking about. The Israeli Defense Force is being defeated in Gaza as we speak. Its forces are being closed with and destroyed by Hamas. Hamas has not lost the will to resist. Hamas continues to resist, and this has a devastating impact on the morale of the Israeli forces. To show you the depths to which Israel has sunk as a nation state, they had some reservists killed in by Hezbollah in southern Lebanon this past week. At the eulogy of one of these reservists, who was from a family of West Bank settlers, the following was said. They were praising him because when Israel went into Gaza, he went in there saying that he would kill every Arab man, woman, and child he met. And they were saying this is a good thing. And they said he did. He went in there and he killed. They said he was such a lighthearted guy because when the men in his unit were down, he blew up homes, Arab homes, blew them up. So the explosions would improve the morale of the IDF forces. And of course, he's a man who committed murder in the past. He shot a Palestinian settler who was resisting the theft of his land with his olive groves on there. He murdered the man using a weapon provided by the Israeli Defense Force. He was arrested but acquitted, and even with this on his record, he was allowed to join this reserve unit, go into Gaza to commit additional crimes. Now, he finally met his justice in Hezbollah. Hezbollah delivered justice in southern Lebanon. But the point is, the idea that Israel is possessing the most moral army in the world is ridiculous. Israel possesses the most morally corrupt military in the world, and it's paying them. They're paying the price, because as we speak, there's a retired Israeli general who gave an interview last week in the Israeli news, and he said that he's watching the destruction of Israel before his very eyes. He says the Israeli Defense Force cannot continue to do this. They haven't accomplished a single objective. Not a single objective has been accomplished. They haven't defeated Hamas. Hamas still exists politically and militarily and is resisting very effectively. They haven't done anything in southern Lebanon. They're supposed to be 20 kilometers in on a 100-kilometer frontage. They've advanced a couple 100 meters into southern Lebanon, and they're getting the snot kicked out of them. A major attack last night was repulsed by Hezbollah. The forces retreating from the hill that they were trying to seize went into a valley where they continue to be ambushed. The Israelis are evacuating the casualties as we speak under fire. This is the reality. Every square inch of southern Lebanon is a potential ambush zone that has been reconnoitered in advance by Hezbollah. They know exactly what they're doing. The concept that Hezbollah is without leadership is absurd. So they're failing to accomplish their task. They're failing to suppress Palestinian unrest in the West Bank. It's increasing. The level of resistance is increasing. It could become yet a third domestic front. They can't stop the Houthi from shutting down the Israeli economy. The world hates Israel. The world hates Israel. The world hates Israel. This man made that point over and over again. He said, we have lost the world. The world is against us, and we will never get them back. And Iran is defeating Israel. Israel has lost any ability to deter Iran. On top of all this, Israel is falling in on itself. The fact that Israel would allow a eulogy of this nature to take place publicly and be recorded in Haaretz and other Israeli newspapers shows the depth to which Israel has sunk. Israel is a nation without a moral compass, and now it's dividing, it's falling in on itself. prior to October 7th, the Israeli president had said that Israel is on the verge of an outright civil war, not civil conflict, not civil disobedience, civil war with armed Israelis fighting armed Israelis. And that general said that's happening right now. Israel is breaking up into factions. They're going to fall in on each other. Israel will consume itself. So what the hell do you want to talk about in Gaza again? Because the narrative you're putting forward, and I'm not blaming you, is a Western narrative. Yes, Israel's committing a crime. Yes, it's outlawed UNRWA. Yes, the United Nations will probably let them get away with it. Yes, Israel is slaughtering Palestinians on a daily basis. But this is part of the formula that leads to the total collapse of Israel, because everything I just mentioned only certifies that Israel is a lawless nation operating